Yo, yo. It's Sherry. Coming back again with videos. This one is gonna be the LCS Preseason Super Doc. Um, so basically, all the teams have been announced, and if they're not announced, like with Dignitas, it's at least basically known what they're gonna do. Um, I've looked into all the teams. I've been watching a lot of footage. Been watching a lot of teams playing solo queue, and I wanted to kind of give my throw my hat in the ring on my opinion on the teams. So, the format of this video is going to be kind of a couple of different parts, but it's going to be me going through each of the teams and giving my slight opinions on them and all of their different narratives and what their preseasons kind of looked like, and giving my opinions and thoughts on those. And I'm gonna tier rank how I think every team did in the preseason on multiple different grades. Mostly like, hey, how did the team do last split? How is it going to look like it's going to do this split? How are they, how did they handle the off season? What other things? It's a lot of things, but first rank is going to be their preseason rank. How I think they did in the off season in multiple different ways. I will get into. Then I'm going to go do a player tier list and rank where I think all of the players stand. And lastly, I'm going to do a team tier list where I expect they're going to land analytically. So let's get into it. So alphabetically, we got to start with 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves is absolutely going to be S tier this split for sure. I think that 100 Thieves just looks so exciting. You've got Tenacity and Busio as these like super look forward to, like everyone's super excited about rookies. You've got Closer coming in with this huge chip on his shoulder, winning finals last year and then making it second place twice in a row, and nobody cared. And of course, Doublelift and Bjergsen. Oh man, Bjergsen staying in LCS but going to 100 Thieves to team up with Doublelift coming out of 2 years of retirement. There is no better main character in the LCS. There is no better main character in the LCS. Super exciting rookies, super exciting veteranship talent. You want to see this team succeed. And 100 Thieves wants to see them succeed too. Because guess what? 100 Thieves by and far head and shoulders above the rest of the teams at hyping up their own roster. The content piece that they made to announce this roster was so good. It was so worth the wait. 100 Thieves tried so hard to make it like people are going to like this roster. People cannot shut up about this roster now. It is easily the fan favorite. And it has this huge like anime-esque arc, like with Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Closer all coming in with these huge chips on their shoulder. Tenacity being in Academy so long, it's like he needs to prove to people that he's good, as everyone says. Busio, a rookie playing with Doublelift. People are wondering, like, is this really going to be able to work out? Can Doublelift be a good mentor for Busio? We got to see. It's super hype. It's by and far the most hyped team in the league. And I believe, my personal opinion, I actually think this team is going to be good. I think they will be one of the top 2 teams in summer, for sure. They might be a little rusty at first in spring, but come summer, this team is going to look super strong. And I'm going to be a fan of them. Next, we've got C9. C9 is a little bit boring. Unfortunately, this is very uncharacteristic of them this season. I actually think in terms of like preseason, I'd have to put them in like a B. I think there is a problem when I have heard more people talking about their academy mid laner and a menace more than I have Diplex. I have not seen any content hyping up Diplex. Nothing. And it's and everything I've seen, he looks like he could be a good melee carry player. Like that is seems to be his niche. But I wonder if in LCS if he's actually going to be able to do that. And again, my problem is that I've seen more hype around the academy player than I have Diplex entirely. Now, do I think this team would ever do bad? No. You have 4 of the championship roster all in a team together. You have basically the same coaching staff. One piece being changed like this from Jensen, who was always very, very, very stable, to someone that may be less stable, but maybe is long-term going to be moving our roster into the direction we want to go, which is something more aggressive, something that can generate its own leads, play better for Blabber. I get it. Overall, some quick closing thoughts on this roster. I think Fudge comes in with a big chip on his shoulder from Worlds. Blabber was at both MVPs of the split votes. Blabber was in the running multiple times. There was a period where actually Mark Z was saying, "Oh, this is just another split where this is just another split where Blabber's getting MVP." If it's the right meta, Blabber can carry this team to a championship. He has shown that multiple times. He is one of the best junglers in the league. And I'm excited to see Berserker Sven stay together. Berserker is the second best AD in this league. And it looks like Cloud9's really dedicated to making this guy like our Chovy, basically. And then, of course, Sven, just quick closing thoughts. Like, I think Sven, he played around with the idea of leaving. There is kind of a question there of, like, did he stay because he couldn't find an AD role? Is that why he stayed? Because where would he have went, right? Did he stay because he couldn't find a job? Who knows? But he is staying. He did have multiple periods. Last splits, people seem to forget about this. People seem to rewrite history on this. Considered the best support in the LCS at points, especially in the playoff run. So, we'll have to see. I did think that their announcement of it was very boring, but it was always going to be boring because it was just one player. But they could have done better, because when they picked up Jensen, they did a really fun, exciting video for that, and they haven't really done anything. It was just a Jack sits in front of a screen and talks to us. CLG. CLG has a really weird vibe about them, where they're kind of like this misfit toys team that people like, but they don't know if they're any good. Basically, CLG was very, very close to making it to Worlds last split, and I don't think people really give them enough hype on that. They almost beat C9, who went on to win the whole LCS championship, and they almost beat TL. But the thing is that people have completely forgotten how their spring split went. Their spring split, they looked like a joke. Summer split, they had moments of hype, they had moments of excitement, they were always exciting, but you never really felt like they hit the peak you really wanted them to hit. They could consistently be bad teams, but they could not beat the teams above them, and that's good. But what it means is that what we want from this CLG is we want to see that last little push from them. We don't want them to be forgettable like they were this year. Like, yes, everyone was hyped in the moment, but no one's talking about them now. We need to see CLG not just be able to be better than the pack, they need to be able to push into that top team. Not necessarily contention. You're not really wanting this team to win, but you want to see this team at Worlds now. We need that. We need the CLG team in order for this sticking together to be successful. They need to prove that they can make that push. We need to see it from them. And I hope that we do. Because I think they were really exciting, but I don't want it to just be a flash in the pan. I think they are more exciting than C9, actually. I don't think they're in the A tier of being super duper exciting. Am I? No, I do actually I think CLG should be an A tier. I think they did try a funny, exciting way to reveal their team with all the messages like, thank you, CLG, for everything, blah, blah, blah. And I think that was fun. And I think because they come in with this, like, they need to prove this, it's a super, like, put up or shut up kind of roster. Like, okay, you kept your whole team, that's cool and all, like, power of friendship, but you gotta actually do it. So I'm excited. I'm more excited to see CLG play than C9. Yeah. Dignitas. Oh man, I've got so many things to say about Dignitas. Like, first of all, where did they get this money? Where did this money come from? Where did the money to pay for this roster come from? And I'm not going to answer that question. But a more important question that I want to pose is, what is this team looking to do? Because this is the real. I said that CLG was the island of misfit toys. This is the island of misfit toys. You've got Armu, who has been completely, like, lambasted by the entire league community as being Narmood. And, like, he can only play, like, 2 champions, and he's very, like, easy to beat, and blah, 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 blah. And, like, he can't lane well. But he was able to win 2 LEC titles in a row. Santorin, it's similar, Santorin, he was on TL for 2 years. He made finals twice in a row with the first year. And then the second year on a super team, they didn't even make finals once. They didn't even go to Worlds. And everyone was always saying Santorin was the weakest link of both of those Team Liquid rosters. Jensen always has a chip on his shoulder. This guy will never not have a chip on his shoulder. By and far the best player on this team. But Jensen has always seemed like a player, at least last split. Last split, he seemed like a player, yes, he could consistently get leads, and he was good in team fights. But is that really the way to play mid lane anymore, like, in the professional sense? It doesn't really feel like it. It was good enough to win the championship, but that was because all of their players on C9 were able to just outlane everyone else. We'll have to see. Because now that it looks like Dig does not have the best laners, can Jensen still keep up? Can he be a consistent carry threat? And then Spawn and Ignar in the bot lane. Feels like a little bit of a mismatch to put someone who never comes to lane, like Ignar, with someone like Spawn, who is a rookie. We'll have to see how this works, because Ignar does not typically stay in lane. He likes to go to mid, he likes to move with the jungler, and maybe that's the plan here, right? Like, put Spawn in bot, he plays weak side, and we're just going to have Ignar, Centaur, and Jensen just kind of be our motor that's just going to run over other teams. Before I move past this team, a quick little thing I want to tail back to with Dig. What does it mean if this team does well, actually? This is a team that's not really trying anything new or trying anything to experiment or really taking any gambles at all. You've got a top 4 top laner, top 5 top laner from EU. You have the top 4 jungler from LCS, the number 1, number 2 mid laner from LCS, a pretty old rookie in Spawn, and then the guy who was able to push Faker to 5 games with Ignar. Right? Like, these are all very accomplished players except for Spawn. What does it mean if this team does well? I don't think many people are thinking about this, because most people are, surprised that they have the money, but writing them off. If they do well, what does that mean for the league ecosystem? Obviously, this is a team that like is expected to hit playoffs, right? If they do better than that with this team of misfit veterans, does that kind of put a hole? Does that kind of hurt the NA Academy scene? Does that hurt the NA growth, NA players narrative at all? Like, does that hurt them? Would it be bad if Dignitas won? Something to think about. Something to think about. Because this is definitely the most old school roster build of any team. Get a couple of like pretty solid players together, put them on a team, see how they do. You know, build our brand. I don't know. We'll see. In terms of excitement, I put them in a C. They haven't announced anything. It's all been from leaks. I'm not really excited for this team at all because I don't want them to win. I do not want a team that is built like this to win. And it's helpful that it's a couple of players I just don't personally, I don't like the way they play, like Centaur and Armut. It is sad to see Jensen on this team because, I love Jensen. Jensen's awesome. And I think seeing a team like this that kind of lacks a bit of soul, almost, it hurts. EG. EG's had a lot of drama this offseason. Like, my goodness. Vulcan getting involved on Twitter drama with the whole, like, work ethic thing. The whole Danny drama, like, is he still under contract? Is he not? Did EG, like, try to make things harder for Danny and all these? It's very, very confusing. But let's look past the drama for now. And we'll try not to look at the drama at all, actually, honestly. It's not that important. Because EG already did not do a good job at making this roster exciting. They released a couple of JPEGs to announce the roster. No video as of yet. I don't know when we're getting a video or if we even are. But not even the bare minimum was done to announce this roster. So, automatically, in terms of excitement, EG is honestly at the bottom, like even below Dignitas. Dignitas is exciting because of how controversial I think they are. EG is disappointing. But in terms of players, I like Someday, I like Inspired, I like JoJo, I like Vulcan. JoJo Inspired were the best mid jungle in the LCS, still could be. JoJo was the best mid laner in the LCS. So, these moves could be really good for EG. These moves could be really, really good for EG. I have no idea. Because it's hard for me to be excited about these moves because EG doesn't seem to care about these moves. So, I'm going to put them in C tier. I think this is a huge loss in the offseason. I think it is disappointing to the fans of EG to see how little effort EG is putting into hyping this roster. FlyQuest. This is, I think, the second most exciting team in the LCS. I would put them up there for 100 Thieves in terms of pure excitement. I think Impact, Spica, Vikla, Prince, Ayla, this is an insanely exciting roster. And you can tell that FlyQuest cares about this roster. I have no idea where they got this money. No idea. But wherever it came from, this seems like the strongest team in the LCS. You have Impact, who is just an absolute monster when it comes to being able to absorb pressure and being able to absorb and still be a threat in fights. Spica is someone who was the MVP just 2 years ago and was clearly the MVP of TSM. and was the main engine behind TSM making any noise in playoffs at all. And is a good player. At one point was the best jungler in the LCS. Vikla is another Vikla and Prince. I'll just talk about them together. These are two very exciting rookie-esque Korean players. Prince, I agree. Azale said this. This is akin to Someday coming over with this Prince move. Prince is very much in his prime. He was considered the second best ADC in LCK for the entire regular season. Some even said the best. It was him and Ruler. And he's coming over to LCS, which is huge. And Ayla, there hasn't been as much talk about Ayla. I mean, there has been a lot of talk about Ayla. Because most of the talk about Ayla is Ayla or Busio the best support in LCS Academy? CoreJJ said he was the second best support in the league. If we see that level from Ayla, if everything here hits, if Prince and Vikla don't have any major oh my god, I'm blanking here. If Vikla and Prince don't have any major issues of living in America, if Ayla is able to hit that peak that CoreJJ was talking about, if Spica is able to, play with that chip and show that he's still that great MVP jungler, if Impact is able to really, be strong and solid, this is a team that could very easily win the LCS. It's very easy to see in my mind. Impact to Soaks, Ayla plays for Prince, Spica plays for Vikla and Prince, Vikla and Prince do all the carrying. Easy. LCS titles have been won with less. They're also really cute, and I'm very excited. This team has a lot of players that I'm very excited for and like a lot, so I'm a little biased. But I am very excited for FlyQuest. Golden Guardians. All right, let's move to Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians does not excite me at all. Some people have been kind of hyping this roster up by saying, like, River and Gory could be the best mid-jungle, and Stixxay and Huhi. Stixxay was kind of showing up in those playoff games near the end, and Huhi was good on 100 Thieves, and yeah. I don't feel it. I don't feel any of the excitement that people are putting into Golden Guardians. I think they'll make summer playoffs, but that's only because it's 8 teams. I don't think this Golden Guardians roster is good. Or even better than other rosters. And I kind of wish Golden Guardians, when they were showing off this roster in their video with Ivan, what is his name? Inori? No. Fuck. Who's the GM of Golden Guardians? Anero. The video of Anero, it felt, I don't know, hollow? Something about it just felt off. And I just kind of wish that he would just said, these are our goals with this roster. Because right now, I don't know, the moves don't make a lot of sense. Like, okay, we're reuniting Stixxay and Huhi. They played different roles back when they used to play together. We're bringing in Gory, who had a great split, was the MVP of the split in VCS, and he didn't look good either. It's strange, but I think, and Licorice, I like Licorice a lot, but I think Licorice also is showing some of his age. There is a world where this Golden Guardians roster could pop. I don't see it. I think Golden Guardians is probably here. I think they're less exciting than C9. No, they're less exciting than Dignitas, too. Immortals. Revenge, Kenvi, Blaze Olive, Tactical, Fleshy. So, I don't have a lot to really say about Immortals. I thought that the way that they presented their offseason was actually really exciting. The way that they were like, okay, we can't afford players that are super big. We can afford good coaches and good staff. That's our goal. We want good coaches and good staff to build for the future. I don't know if this roster is actually building towards the future, but Flesh Shy could be good. Or Fleshy, I think his name is Fleshy. Fleshy could be really good. He had the most improved award in Turkey. TCL. And they only just barely didn't make it through playoffs to get the Worlds, I think. Tactical has shown really high highs. Blaze Olive has occasionally shown some pretty solid performances. Kanavi is still that player that people are wanting to really show up from LCS Academy. And Revenge is, someone that people really want to, I think more than anything, if I was to describe this Immortals roster, people want to see them do well. We just don't think they're going to be able to do it. This would be a roster that I want to see succeed. I want to see this Immortals roster succeed. I don't know if it will. I think in terms of excitement, I would put them on the same as Cloud9. I really liked their videos that they did to show off this team, to get people excited for this team, to get excited for at least the process of this Immortals roster. And I'm excited to see. I would love to see these players smile by beating CLG or beating C9 or beating Dig, right? This is a team I want to see succeed. I hope this team does well. Team Liquid. Team Liquid. I might need to look at my notes for Team Liquid. No, I got it. Team Liquid's whole deal. Team Liquid's exciting. I'm going to put Team Liquid in before I even talk about them. Team Liquid is exciting. However, I want to come in with a more measured approach to Team Liquid. I think a lot of people are kind of overhyping this team. Not in a bad way, in a way that is expected, but I worry about the pressure on Harry and Yeon. To get started, Summit, Piosic, and Core JJ are easily good enough to get Team Liquid to 4th place. That is not going to be a problem for this roster. The problem is going to come if Harry and Yeon don't grow as fast as Team Liquid is maybe hoping for them to, or the fans are hoping for them to, or any little underperformance is going to be placed on these rookies. God. Sorry. Sorry about that. Any little problem is going to be put on these rookies. Oh my God. Any little problem is going to be put on these rookies. Harry and Neon are going to be under a lot of fire because they're the rookies and they need to put up or shut up because they have Summit, Piosic, and Core JJ around them. I really want this team. I'm very excited for this experiment. But I hope that if something goes wrong in this experiment, the blame does not go fully onto Harry and Yeon. I think this team could actually work really well. I think Piosic is really good about playing around his laners. I think Core JJ has shown that he is an amazing support player and is able to play with younger ADCs. And I think I'm very excited for Harry and Yeon. There's so much hype around these guys. There's so much hype around this team. This might be the most hyped team in the roster if it wasn't in the LCS, if it wasn't for 100 Thieves. I'll finish with this. Team Liquid has 3 well-established, well-proven veterans and 2 rookie carries that are some of the youngest in the league. What I just described to you was last year's Evil Geniuses. Will this Team Liquid have that same kind of showing with their rookies? Will their rookies flourish like JoJo and Danny did? I don't know yet. But it's very promising. Lastly, let's finish up with TSM. I'm not excited for this roster. And I'm not going to say a bunch of negative things about TSM, but it's not exciting. It's very disappointing, I think, actually. Now, I know that TSM fans are actually excited that Solo, Maple, and Chime are sticking together. And that's not bad. Honestly, I like that TSM is keeping that group. However, this is the oldest roster in the league. This does not inspire inspiration out of me that TSM is building for the future. I am worried about the future of TSM if this is the roster that they're putting up, because this does feel almost like a death throw from TSM. I know they don't have a lot of money because of what happened with FTX, but who are we building for here? Chime? Is Chime the player that we want to build for the future here on TSM? Maybe. I don't know how long Maple's going to be staying. I don't know if Solo is really going to be staying. I don't know about Boogie, really. I don't think Neo's who we're building for. So I guess it would be Chime? But is this really a roster that's good for helping Chime grow? I don't know, and I don't think it is. And I think this is just a disappointing roster from TSM. So yeah, that's going to go ahead and complete the narrative and perception and how I think they did in the offseason and and how excited I am. Let's get into the player tier list. All right, so we're gonna start with top line. Oh, that makes the screen look super boring. I'm just gonna show them all, and I'll just go through, and we'll talk about it. We'll just go ahead and show all the tier lists. That's fine. Okay. Welcome to the next part of the video. This is the tier list section. So a quick, not recap, but a quick telling you of how I feel. And I'll bring these notes back. S means this player. So the rankings change a little bit from role to role because different roles have different values of importance in a game of competitive League of Legends. The way I see it is an S tier player is someone that is first in line. This is a first round draft pick type player. This is a player that you believe could be the star of your team. This is a player that when built around could win you an LCS title. Now, this means a little bit less for top and support, but it still is important because the players that are S tier for top and in support are still really, really amazing players that people want to play with. These are players that people want to play with because they think they can win with them. A tier, these are players that are really, really good. These are players that are good. This is maybe a more second option kind of player. This is not going to be your focal point type player. B tier, these are going to be your players that are serviceable. They're going to very easily be able to get the job done. These are players that you could put onto a more mediocre team and still be able to have really, really, really good success. And then C tier, These are going to be our players that really need to step it up, really need to really prove themselves to be proven as like good talent. So let's start with top lane. Top lane. You are not going to win a championship with top lane, but it can make it way easier. I think Summit is going to come in as the best top laner. Sorry, God. I apologize. Summit is coming in as the best top laner. I think uncontested. Except by Impact. I think Impact is really, really, really going to look good this split. Because I think most of the top laners this split are very much like try to carry through top, or at least try to carry through top, right? Kind of players. Impact is going to look amazing. I think Impact is basically unparalleled in the LCS when it comes to soaking pressure. I do think Summit is going to be able to get the better of him, but if Impact can just neuter Summit, it's going to look like a very different league in terms of top lane. But a lot of the NA tops kind of feel like they're in this gray area where they're good, but they're not, you know, they're good, but they're not going to win you the game. Summit and Impact, I think there's a big gap between those two. I think Summit and Impact are the best, and I think the rest, some of them have some good, some of them are a little worse, but it's kind of this weird top lane soup. Tenacity has room to grow, though. I think Tenacity should come in as a player that is seen as, obviously, this is not the player that we're building around, but this is a player that can grow into a great player. Jungle. All right, jungle. Let's keep it straight here. Let's keep it $150 here. Let's keep it real. Jungle is the most important role in the LCS. Full stop. If your jungler is not a top 5 jungler, if your jungler is not a A-tier jungler, you are not winning the LCS. It's not going to happen. Typically, your jungler needs to be S-tier in order to win the LCS. But I digress. I think Piosik is going to come in as the best jungler. And he very well could be. But jungle is very dependent on its laners. And if Piosik has any struggles because his rookies are struggling or anything, it's going to hold him back. And he's not going to look as good. Inspired very easily could very well just carry into another championship for EG, actually. He was almost good enough to do it last split, and he could very well do it again. Playing around someday and JoJo, especially JoJo and the way JoJo plays, he could do it again. It's not impossible. And of course, if the meta is right, Blabber could become the best jungler. Blabber could just be the best jungler in the league again. Like I said earlier, people forget Blabber was almost the MVP. Twice last split. But those are the top 3, for sure. Closer and Spica really want to push into that S tier. And I really wanted to put them up there. But I think you kind of have to look at it. Closer has a very, 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 like, specific playstyle that he does every time. And I think that lack of flexibility is going to hold him back. And Spica is also coming in with a chip on his shoulder. Hey, dude, you went from the MVP to 10th to like 9th and 8th place, I think. So there's a lot of like hope for these guys to do well. It's just we got to see it because they're coming in with a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. Mid lane. So mid lane I think is in a bit of a strange spot because I think mid might be in one of the weakest spots it is, like in terms of like the player talent in the role. Something about it feels weak. Something about it feels not as strong or exciting as other regions. And I don't really know what to put to it other than it just feels like there aren't many like exciting mid laners. JoJo is exciting, but he plays a very supportive style. He's not a very like flashy like I'm gonna stop, and he does get those CS leads. He does even when he's playing control mage champs still like get lane leads. It's just it never really feels like JoJo is the primary carry. He's just really really good at getting that lane and then lead and then moving it around the map. But I want to see a bit more carry from him. I want to see a bit more just straight raw talent. Vikla does seem exciting from what I've seen. And kind of what I'm curious about is, are Vikla and JoJo the two best? Or is there actually just a gap? Is Vikla going to be the best mid laner in the LCS? We'll have to see. We'll have to just see. Gory has been getting a lot of hype, and that's why I've moved him to A tier. But I don't know if he's actually there. He might be in B tier. Bjerg and Jensen are obviously both good. But oh, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. JoJo. Let's go back to JoJo for a minute. Because JoJo was definitely our best mid laner last split. But he kind of played a more supportive style. He wasn't really a carry. He would get these pretty big sizable leads. And then he would go and play with Inspired, or he would roam top, or he would go bot, and he would make something happen. And that's not a bad way to play. It's a good way to play. And he was really, really good at that. He may have been the best we've seen a player do at that kind of mid lane playstyle besides Niski. But it could be an issue. It could be an issue. If FBI and Someday aren't ready for that kind of playstyle, they were more used to Abba, who was a very like scale and kale kind of playstyle. It might be a bit of a culture shock there. Bjerg is obviously coming in with this pretty big chip on his shoulder, coming from the super team onto this team. And he was always being, compared to JoJo, but Bjerg was just, underneath him. We'll have to see. And then Harry has room to grow. I did put him in B tier, but I do think he could grow. We'll just have to see. I'm like I said, I'm very much tempering my expectations of Team Liquid here. ADC. All right, so I don't know what it is, but ADC does feel super exciting this split. It's definitely the second most important role when it comes to winning the LCS. I think it's the most hype ADC Mamie has ever been. You've got Prince, Berserker, Doublelift. Like, that's freaking hype. And then you've got, like, rookie story with Yeon, Luger rookie story, FBI, coming with a big chip on his shoulder. And then the rest. But, I'm sorry. The bottom 80s, it's a little rough. But I do think that this is going to be a really exciting LCS split for ADCs. And let's talk about it a little bit. The Doublelift return. This is the most exciting move. This is the move everyone's talking about. This is the move everyone's hyped about. It's Doublelift coming back. I don't think he's going to be on the level of Prince and Berserker. I don't think he needs to be on that level, though, to win the LCS. I think Doublelift is going to win one of these two LCS splits. Either spring or summer. Most likely summer. This is going to be super hype. No matter what. Like, positive, negative, people are going to be excited because it has Doublelift. But I think the fact that Doublelift has such strong competition is going to make it even more exciting. All right, let's run it through the supports. Really quick. Support is a bit more quiet role, so we won't dwell on it too long. I think Vulcan and Core JJ are just uncontested as the best supports in the league. And then Sven, Busio, and Ayla are the ones that are hyped to grow into maybe being like competing. But Vulcan Core Dirty aren't contested. Due to the lackluster Worlds performance, people were kind of poo-pooing on Sven. But there was a period of time where people were calling him the best support in the LCS. So we'll just have to see how he keeps growing into this role. So let's close out with the actual expected results team tier list and reasoning. So I did leak my tier list already on my Twitter at Cheering Train, or no, at times at TI3MZ. And so I'll just put it together here and we'll talk about it. I already leaked this, and I pretty much stand by it. There was a little bit of mental arguing in my head about like which teams I am actually. Do I believe? Yeah. Okay. There we go. There was a little bit of mental gymnastics I was kind of going through in my head about which ones I believed in, which ones I didn't. But ultimately, this is where I ended up sitting when it comes to team tier list. I think FlyQuest and C9 are your teams that look like they should be the ones first in line to win that trophy. I think FlyQuest roster is just so insane. And I don't think it takes a lot for it to pop. C9, we just saw this roster win. We know how it can win. This is 4 of the previous champions. People are kind of poo-pooing them because of their Worlds performance. These guys are still freaking good, dude. For LCS, these guys are freaking good. They should still be very, very strong. And with some of the stuff people have said about a Menace, like they could very well, like if they can bring a Menace in, they might be like this. It might look like this. But for now, I think I think this is more fair. A tier, I have 100 Thieves, Team Liquid, EG. These are teams that could win, but I think a lot needs to go right. 100 Thieves, there are some question marks. Was Tenacity in Academy too long? Is he still going to be strong? Is he not in his prime anymore? Is Closer, is he not flexible enough to be able to play with someone like Bjergsen? Is Doublelift coming out of 3 years of retirement? Is he going to be strong? Is Busio going to be able to learn well under these mentors? There's a couple of question marks, but I think that most of these players are going to be pretty consistent. I think that this team should pretty easily be able to coast into probably our 3rd best team in the league at minimum. And it's because of that trust I'm giving to Doublelift, Closer, Bjergsen, that I'm putting them in 3rd place because of that. Because I think Closer and Doublelift are probably just strong enough to be able to be the 2 most important players and be able to command the game through that. So why'd I put Team Liquid under them if I think Team Liquid has better players in top jungle support? Well, I think putting your 2 main carries, the typical primary carry roles, as rookies, I think it's a big question mark, and I think it's a question mark that people should be thinking like, I don't know. I don't know. Like it's too unrealistic to just jump the gun and say, oh, because they have Core JJ, Summit, Piosik, they're rookies, they'll do just fine and they'll do here. I don't know. I think it's much better to temper the expectations a little bit, pump the brakes, and just kind of think like, for sure, Summit, Piosik, Core JJ is strong enough to get to 4th. And if Harry and Yeon become, average or better than average level players, then yeah, fourth will be fine. And if they can push beyond that, then we can see. But I think you're taking too many assumptions if you're putting CL that high. EG's in 5th.
just have more faith in people like Summit to be able to put down Someday and Piosik and Hyeri just kind of being able to work together. I have more faith. Basically, this came down to it was either going to be this or it was going to be this, and I have more faith in 100 Thieves being stronger than EG being stronger than 100 Thieves. Now you could argue this, but this just doesn't this doesn't feel right, right? Like something about this feels wrong. So I'm pretty sure it has to be this. Next, I think CLG, yeah, I think CLG is going to be the 6th best team. I think they should be the gatekeepers. I hope they're the gatekeepers. I have more faith in the CLG boys to kind of like keep their spot locked than I do Dignitas to punch above their weight, if that makes any sense. I think Dignitas will probably underperform. That is my likely guess. I think that the Island of Misfit Toys teams never seem to work. They never seem to work long. It seems like it's a band-aid solution to team success that never really seems to click longer than a split. And then Golden Guardians TSM Immortals. This is what I lovingly called the 3 teams in a trench coat. Where it's like you're walking down an alley to watch LCS, and then it's like these three teams like on top of each other in a trench coat, like jump at you. It's like jump scare, LCS jump scare. You have to watch one of us. You have to watch one of these teams. The real LCS jump scare is like TSM Immortals or TSM Golden Guardians or Golden Guardians Immortals. Like you have to watch these games. Boo! It's like, oh. I do think these teams are going to be competing for last place. Maybe Golden Guardians can punch up and take out Dig. But I do think that CLG, TSM, Golden Guardians, Immortals, I do think those are the 3 worst teams. Immortals could be better than TSM, but I think on paper you would say TSM is stronger. But that does it for my LCS preseason review. I think this should be a very exciting split of LCS, actually. There's so many good narratives. There's so many exciting teams. And I am excited to announce that going forward, I'm going to be making content on the LCS. So we shall see how it goes. And I hope that you guys stick along with me to as I make some kind of LCS super fan stardom stuff. Bye, guys. See you in the next video.